It's a disease that's reaching epidemic proportions at the White House, saying one thing when in fact the opposite appears to be true. Like when Trump tweeted last month after his meeting with Kim Jong-un, there is no longer a nuclear threat from North Korea. Then just a few weeks later, his own intelligence agencies leaked reports to NBC News about how they believe North Korea has actually increased nuclear fuel production since that meeting. Then there's that pesky issue of the next Supreme Court nominee and where he or she might stand on abortion rights. Here's an exchange caught on audio between Trump and a reporter this past Friday.
Are you looking for somebody who would overturn Roe v. Wade?
Well, you know, it's a great group of intellectual talent, but we really, they are generally conservative. I'm not going to ask him that question, by the way. That's not a question I'll be asking.
A little bit of an odd response, especially given this promise candidate Trump made during a Fox News debate.
Do you want to see the court overturn Roe v. Wade?
Well, if we put another 2 or perhaps 3 justices on, that's really what's going to be, that will happen. And that'll happen automatically, in my opinion, because I am putting pro-life justices on the court.
Trump has already met with 4 potentials this week, so who knows what he asked them. And don't even get me started on Trump protege / EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt, who's apparently been keeping secret calendars in addition to his public one, so he can hide meetings with industry types, according to a whistleblower who spoke with CNN.
So he would meet with an industry lobbyist, somebody from industry itself, and decide later that that's not going to look good, so let's scrub it off the calendar?
Sometimes later, even before, we would always put on the schedule meeting with staff. That was the default button, was meeting with staff.
Distractions, diversions, downright lies. Joining me to talk about it are 3 people who obviously have nothing to do on July 4th. Jesse Mermell, I mean that in a loving way, of course.
I get it.
Former communications director for Governor Deval Patrick. Good to see you, Jesse. Lylah Alphonse, managing editor for U.S. News and World Report. Good to see you. And Charlie Chieppo, senior fellow at the Pioneer Institute and former policy director for Governor Romney. Charlie, it's good to see you, too. I assume we can dispose of the following. When Trump says he won't even ask the question about abortion, assuming it's true, it's because he doesn't need to, right? I mean, everybody on the Federalist list is somebody who is pro-life. That's true, yes?
Yeah, I think this is a time when we can take Trump at his word. He will not ask the question because many other people doing the screening for him will have asked the question.
It doesn't mean there's no litmus test. No.
Okay, so here's my thesis, which I want to try out on you, is that as enthusiastic as the GOP leadership is that they're going to get this candidate who may swing the balance on abortion rights and other things, they don't want what they're wishing for. Their dream has been to be able to complain about Roe v. Wade and not have the power to repeal it. And now that they got to worry that we may get what we wish for. Is that a preposterous theory?
I don't think it is preposterous. I think that is, that's the kind of battle that ends people's careers, and that's not what they want.
NBC News, 61 to 31, just today, 61% want Roe v. Wade upheld, 31% want it overruled. So if the Republicans are responsible for this, there may be hell to pay, yes?
Exactly. It's a huge talking point. It's always been a reliable thing to trot out and get the base riled up, no matter whose base you're talking about. Yep. But do they really want it to happen? I'm not so sure. And it's not that easy. It's not like you confirm the judge and boom, Roe v. Wade is overturned. Right. I mean, we had Brown versus Board of Education overturning Plessy versus Ferguson, and there was a 60-year gap in between that. You need to wait for another similar case to come up and then to do a ruling that overrides the previous ruling.
But they don't even need to. I mean, to advance my own thesis, which I'm thrilled that you agree with, I don't know if you do, is
generally no, but I'll entertain it.
They can do what they can approve what some states have done, is preserve the right to have an abortion, but make it almost impossible to get to a place where you can actually have the procedure done, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And just to build on the previous point, anti-choice forces have been laying the groundwork for this moment for years. So I don't think it's going to be 60 years. I think that they have been working on laying the groundwork that they need to file a case as soon as humanly possible.
I think most
after
of
the court turns.
Of the life begins at conception type human cases have been part of that.
Very much so, very much so. And then you're absolutely right. What they have been doing in the states is chipping away at Roe piece by piece. And if the court overturns, then you are going to see those small pieces become huge chunks of pulling away a woman's right to choose.
Can we move to North Korea? I showed you a headline a minute ago from NBC News which essentially said North Korea is increasing nuclear production. But then this morning, we have Donald Trump tweeting the following. He doesn't mention at all anything about these intelligence reports. Many good conversations with North Korea. It's going well. In the meantime, no rocket launches or nuclear testing in 8 months. All of Asia is thrilled. Only the opposition party, which includes the fake news, is complaining. If not for me, we would now be at war with North Korea. I'm not even going to ask you who is right, because I assume most people would bet on the intelligence community. But the story to me that has been wildly under-discussed, this is the U.S., United States intelligence agencies leaking a report so that in the public mind, the president of the same United States, his credibility is undercut. Well, that is staggering.
The president who has spent a year and a half undercutting the authority and the intelligence community. This is a lot of the karma coming into play here. But there's also this reality TV element that I just can't get past. The whole create a problem, war with North Korea, solve the problem, at least on the surface with a meeting, congratulate yourself for solving the problem, telling everyone it could have been bad. And
if not for me.
Yeah, let's see what happens in the next episode.
If everybody was, wouldn't you worry though, even assuming we were all objective and didn't have any horses in any of these races, is it not troubling that the intelligence agencies are leaking to the American people information, even if they're doing it for a noble reason? Maybe it's not revenge, it's actually...
It is very troubling, but I think you're going to see more and more and more of this, and I think it's not just going to be within the intelligence community. I think there's a lot of people, in Washington and in the government who are probably feeling pretty desperate about having this guy in charge.
Well, you saw it with Scott Pruitt, which I know...
I don't know if it said it, former deputy chief of staff. That was not just some low-level staffer.
Right. There have been countless examples. I think what we're seeing from the intelligence community about North Korea is perhaps the most significant one in terms of the immediate consequence. But there are clearly people in government who are unwilling to stand for what this administration is doing, who are deeply troubled by what it means. And while I think there are fair questions to ask about whether or not undermining the president or other authorities in government is good, by and large, I think as citizens we should be grateful to these people for being willing to disinfect with sunshine.
I want to stay on this just for a second. Some people are theorizing that Kim Jong-un is not as venal and as much of a liar as these photos and reports suggest, that he's a brilliant negotiator. That what the goal is here, raise the ante by at least appearing, and maybe in reality, expanding your nuclear arsenal, doing more enriched uranium, which puts much more pressure on the United States to make concessions to cut a deal. That's not preposterous,
keep in mind the test site was severely damaged in the last round of testing, so it's not surprising that he hasn't had tests. There's been pretty much a consensus that his destruction of the test site wasn't really destruction of the test site, it was mostly for show. But it's still not the prime place to test anymore. But that doesn't mean he's not enriching uranium, and I don't think...
But it doesn't mean he's necessarily doing it to do something evil.
No.
He may be doing it so that he can extract more from his negotiating partner, Donald Trump.
Yeah, and it appears now, if you believe these intelligence reports, that there are at least 2 other secret sites that he's got as well.
Right.
But I guess, to answer your question, I think you can be both venal and a very good negotiator, and I think that pretty well describes him.
Okay, let's move to maybe something that would describe both. Michael Cohen. As I assume you all remember, not too long ago, he's willing to take a bullet for his former client, the President of the United States. And we've all heard this quote from his interview with George Stephanopoulos only about 10,000 times the last 24 hours. I put family and country first. I will not be a punching bag as part of anyone's defense strategy. I'm not a villain in any story. Won't allow others to try and depict me in that way. The conventional wisdom here, Jesse, is he was talking to one person. He was talking to Donald Trump, saying, you should be nervous here. We haven't talked in a couple of months, but that P word, that pardon thing you love to play around with, now's the time, even before I get indicted for anything. Is that what you take away from this?
It certainly seems like he's taking a page out of the playbook of the Trump White House staff. If you want to talk to the boss, go on TV, because that's how
he didn't do Fox and Friends, though.
He didn't do Fox and Friends. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe they didn't want him. They didn't want to ruin their relationship with the boss.
You know that foreign leaders book appointments on Fox and Friends if they can't get meetings with Don. Okay, I just want to make Okay, go
Well,
ahead.
they're staying at the Trump Hotel.
Exactly.
Part
I'm
of the
sorry.
long, long list of mind-blowing things we've seen over the past 2 years or so. But yeah, I think he was absolutely talking to the White House, talking to Donald Trump. There's no reason why he couldn't have picked up the phone and talked to prosecutors if he wanted to signal his willingness to make a deal.
Well, actually, but some people think, Lylah, that he has picked up the phone, and the prosecutors haven't answered. They don't want to cut a deal.
I think we're overthinking this.
We are?
Honestly.
How? You think it's just the message of the president?
I think it's exactly a message to the president. I think maybe the prosecutors haven't called back because they're waiting to figure out what kind of deal there is. But can the president even pardon him for anything that's done at the state level that's not a federal crime, all the taxi medallion stuff? I'm not sure that a pardon is what he's going for as much as not wanting to be seen as a puppet.
Let me raise a new point. Is it possible he could be venal and a good negotiator? Oh, no, I don't know where I heard that. But okay.
Gotta keep up, Tim.
So what's your take on this Mike Cohen deal?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, I think that prosecutors are going to be very careful with him because I really think that they feel that he holds the keys to the kingdom, that he could really give them the stuff that could, open up the whole world of what's really been going on in the Trump organization for a decade. So I think everybody is operating very carefully and making sure that they, dot their I's and cross their T's on this.
And can I state the
Quickly.
obvious?
Yeah.
This whole Trump universe really likes being in the spotlight.
Yeah.
They like feeling like celebrities. They like being on TV and having people talk about them. I mean, I don't think that we can discount that that's probably also a part of it. He likes having people talk about him.
Well,
On
not
that
just
note-
Trump, but everyone involved.
Yes.
And Cohen, too.
I don't mind that either, frankly. Nice to see you, Jesse.
And here I thought you had no ego.
Happy 4th. Lylah,
too.
great to see you. Why'd you laugh so hard?
No,
Good to see you, Charlie.
Thought of
Chieppo.
something
Yeah,
funny.
thanks so much.